This next one I'm doing is Whoa Nellie. Whoa Nellie came to me 2012, and it was on the Inside album. I wrote this album. It was a conceptual album called Inside, and there was a lot of songs that deal with the intrinsicnesses of how we perceive what we perceive and what reality is not always the same. But I digress. So this song here, Whoa Nellie, like I was saying in the past, is a story. But all of these are stories. These are Western stories. But this particular one, if you can imagine, just a second, I'm going to adjust myself here. This particular one is one that, if you can imagine, this could be a play. This could be one of the songs that goes with a play, or in a play. And in this particular act, this particular song, it's about this man that he's involved with this woman, but he goes over and hangs out with her and does stuff. You know, maybe they play dominoes, or they may go for a drive, or they may go to the movies, and they do a lot of fun stuff. But to him, his main focus, his ambition is not to get tied down. Apparently, he'd already been married before. The chorus goes something like this. Whoa, Nellie, slow this buggy down. You're driving way too fast for that little church in town. Whoa, Nellie, I think you got me wrong. I came here for the pie, not to sing your wedding song. Anyways, it's a pretty neat little story, and it kind of moves you from one to the next, and as you listen to him, you realize how selfish this man is, because he's just there for the pie. He's not there for anything else. I've got this kind of circus-like music in the background, and it's not by accident, you know, because I'm a very, very big fan of the band. I love the band. You know, the music from Big Pink, when that came out, I was thinking, wow, who are these guys? And then they came out with that second album. What was the name of that second album? I just remember it as the Brown Album, or the album that had when they laid Old Dixie down. Anyways, the band, they're great. And the reason they're great is because they were, you know, they're kind of an offshoot, almost an offshoot, rock and roll offshoot of another band that came out of the 40s called Spike Jones. Well, Spike Jones, they were a little bit way over the top with some of the stuff that they did, which is phenomenal because they were from the 40s. Some of their stuff is really classically good too, by the way. But they would take regular songs that other people had and then screw them up, kind of like, what is his name? Just a second. Weird Al Yankovic. Except they would take songs that were out at that time, and they would sometimes reword the lyrics, and sometimes they would just put weird stuff in the band. The band just had this really neat, eclectic sound. Robbie Robertson with his, he wrote some really good stuff. Well, actually, all of them wrote some really good stuff. One of the things that glued those guys together so well, I'm going to turn this monitor here off because it leaves a purple thing in my eyes. But one of the things about that made the band so good was They were all good songwriters and they were all good musicians, and they all had something to contribute, and they didn't mind that that person was contributing, and then they would put their stuff together, and you know, the keyboarding and the bass and the lead guitar and the drumming, it was just a fabulous group. And who else could sing besides themselves to the band and the band's music? You got it. Bob Dylan. That was Bob Dylan's house band. Can we call it a house band? Studio band? It was his band though. And everybody knew it. I mean, they knew they were great, and they were great all the way back. Well, I'm thinking of certainly Blonde on Blonde, but they were just really great, really good, top notch. And so I wrote this particular song with the band in mind, and obviously if the band's in mind, and I say obviously, obvious to me, but the person that should sing this is Dylan. So I had a lot of fun with this song. And there's a really nice harmonica part to it. I mean, it's nothing special. If you're like past year one of harmonica, you could do this stuff. It's not that I don't really do stuff that's really, really hard with harmonica. I use it because it fills in a particular gap in my heart that says, you've got to put some harmonica in there, Mr. Baldwin. By the way, did I ever tell you about why harmonicas are really special to me? Well, there's a lot of factors that are involved, but here's one. My mother and father got divorced when I was 5. And even before that, we were living in California. Actually, we were living just a few blocks away from where they were building Disneyland in Anaheim, I believe. And I don't remember much about my dad. He was driving a UPS truck. All right, thank you. I guess I'm going to have to come back on this one, okay? Just remember where we left off. Where did we leave off? We're leaving off with harmonicas. Thanks. Bye. Lord Baldwin and harmonicas. I got my first harmonica, I think somewhere, maybe when I was maybe 11 years old. Got it at a garage sale. Something. Anyways, it was a chromatic harmonica that had some notes missing. But you know, with the chromatic, you push a button and then, well, there was some notes missing there too. But I just started playing it. My mother thought it was really kind of neat that I was pursuing this avenue. And so she, every year when I was a kid, well, every year from the time I was 12 all the way up to 18, on my birthday, which was always a bleak, because I'm born in January and I'm living with a stepfather that, you know, he would always have this thing, he said, well, we spend all of our money on Christmas, so I would end up with a card and a pair of socks. And that happened more than you can imagine. But my mother used to throw in a harmonica every year. And it was good because, you know, I'd wear those harmonicas out after a while. In a year's time, I could maybe need more than one harmonica. In those days, they were pretty inexpensive too. So that's kind of neat. But one other factor I wanted to mention is my father. Now, my father, in the early 50s, when we were living in California, he worked for UPS. He was an aspiring actor, so he'd get done from his job driving, and then he'd hop into his 53 Chevy and drive over to Hollywood which in those days, going from Anaheim to Hollywood was not that far. I mean, it was like 30 miles, maybe even less than that. And in those days, the traffic wasn't what it is today. I can't even imagine how long it would take for him to drive that now, but I digress. Well, and so they got a divorce, and I kind of feel like this behavior of him never being home was symptomatic to part of the reason that they broke up. So my point was, I hardly ever saw him, and when he was home, it wasn't saying, "Hi, Chester, how you doing?" It wasn't like that. I was pretty much not really there. But years later, you know, when I got that first harmonica and I started playing it, it dawned on me that part of the reason, well, it didn't dawn on me until a lot later, but my dad was an entertainer also. He'd go to Hollywood sometimes and entertain in nightclubs, and he was even in a band at one point. But he played accordion, and he played it really well. By the way, I have his accordion. I don't have his accordion. I think it's over at Stevens right now. It was with Meredith. Meredith has learned how to play accordion, but that's neither here nor there. So he would, in fact, play accordion periodically, and this stuck in my head. And I believe, after all these years, I believe that the reason I'm so entrenched with harmonicas is because it was my reaching to find my father. And that was the one really good memory I had of my father as a kid, was he played the accordion. And that sound stayed in my brain, and it's still there. So that's what I was trying to say about the harmonicas. Now, I think we talked way too much in this episode about all of this stuff because, you know, we got to move on. So thanks a lot for listening, and well, we'll see you next time, I guess.